This might be the most important video we've ever done on the Axiom channel, and it's what to do the first time you get together with a client, right? This is really where the rubber meets the road, taking all the information that you've been learning and translating it into a great first experience. And this is tough. This is where a lot of trainers struggle when they first get started, and you're gonna get better at it. So no doubt practice is gonna be helpful, but I wanna give you guys a very simple 3-part framework to follow. A flexible framework that's not only gonna allow you to get the information that you need the first time you get together with that person, but also deliver on a great first experience that's gonna serve them taking action. So let's set the scene. You've got a new potential client, right? Someone who hasn't signed up to train with you yet, but you've got coming into the gym for the first time. Based on the facility that you're in, the setting that you're in, whether you're training for yourself, it may vary in length, but from my experience, 60-minute intro sessions are your best bet. 60 minutes is the right amount of time where you can have great conversation, you can build, connect, rapport, all these things that you want to do, but still get them moving a little bit. And I think the combination of these two things is key, and it's probably the most comfortable for you guys who are watching right now as well. I'm gonna go through and talk about where assessments might fit in and how to decipher some of those things, but in the end, what I want you guys to take away is that this framework is flexible. It's flexible to you, right? It can grow with you. As your skills as a coach and trainer grow with certain things, you may find yourself spending more time on one thing versus the other, and that is okay. But this is gonna be a better place to start, definitely a better place to start than what I started out doing as I first had clients in the gym. Gosh, I only wish someone was telling me these things early on. And a lot of this starts, we're gonna get into the 3 separate parts here that I'm gonna break down, but I'm actually gonna start with kind of a little bonus, or maybe what I call like the secret weapon. And this may not always be possible for you guys, but if at all possible, you'll find that being able to connect with this person, whether it's on a phone call, whether it's actually stopping in the gym just for some casual conversation, or maybe even meeting them for coffee, whatever it is, if you can get these 5 questions asked before they come in that day, it's gonna be huge. I call it the secret weapon because I find these are the questions that allow you to really customize what you're gonna do on that day so you have a better plan. And I know if you're a new coach and trainer, the better plan that you have, the more comfortable you're gonna be, the better it's gonna come across, all right? So I'm not gonna go super detailed on each of these, but if you don't get these questions in prior to, well, they're gonna end up fitting in part 1 as you get to meet this person. But understanding what are their goals, why right now, right? These are really, really important questions that actually may lead to some really juicy conversation. You know, what is holding you back? Why aren't you doing this on your own right now, right? Straight up, that's how I'll ask it, you know, because I want to know what those barriers are before they get into the gym. Then another big one, what do you need from me as a coach? Right? I want to know what their expectations of a coach and trainer are, not only because if I know that prior to all of this, I can make sure I deliver on it, right? Think about the difference here for a second. If someone says, Joe, I just want to feel comfortable and safe in the gym, right? I know strength training is great for me, but I go into the weight room and I immediately turn around because I just don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Well, guess what? I'm going to make sure on that first day, everything we do makes them feel safe, makes them feel comfortable. That's gonna be very different than someone who says, hey Joe, you know what? I've been training for a long time and I want someone who challenges me. Like I wanna come in and like, I feel like I've been doing the same thing forever. Well, guess what? That's gonna be a different first session. They're gonna be doing some exercises, some things I know they've never done before because that's gonna relate to building value in these different ways. And then this one's gonna come back at the end, right? But maybe one of the most important ones, which is what's your ideal training schedule, right? What time of day are you gonna work out? Not only because as we get into doing this first session, like are they even legitimately going to be a client potential? Do they fit anywhere in your schedule? And I'll also show you how you can use that. It's kind of an easy little sales tool at the very end of that first session. Part 1 of our first session framework, I call connect and collect. And I have here for you guys, again, this is flexible. Some of you may find yourself spending more or less time than I have on here, but I have found from doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of first sessions, this is about what you should spend if you're just getting started, 10 to 20 minutes, all right? Now, when I say connect and collect, right now we're in the gym, right? If there's a class going on, anything else, I wanna make sure that I'm setting aside some time. I have them coming in to meet with me at a time that's pretty relaxed in the gym, right? Where we can sit down, whether it's out on a set of benches, if you have an office space that's inviting, maybe it's some couches or chairs up front, just an opportunity to get to know that person. Now, you might find, if you're like me as a new coach and trainer, I was a little bit anxious and I would like really rush this process, partially because I just wasn't that comfortable with it. I was comfortable out on the gym floor. So I would kind of rush the conversation, the getting to know you piece, and it killed those first sessions. So This is key, right? This is your opportunity to connect. Building rapport, building trust, building that relationship is probably the most important, right? Let me emphasize it again. Probably the most important thing you can do on day one. Way more important than all the assessments and information you might do, because most people, that's not what they're buying. Most times they're buying you. They're buying me. They're buying the relationship that they feel like they have with you. So don't rush that. Take your time. I say connect and collect because part of that's going to be getting to know not just them as a person, right? Not just, hey, how you doing? What do you like? But also, what do you like in the gym, right? Health history questionnaire, PAR-Q, some of your documentation that you need. This is going to be the place where that needs to happen. Now, you saw what I mentioned earlier. I like to get some information ahead of time because it just allows me to do more in that first hour. But if not, those 5 questions that I showed you guys, those should come right here, right? And you want to be collecting those in your head. I say collecting them in your head because if there's an opportunity to use anything that they're talking about in that initial conversation, their goals, what they expect of you as a trainer, anything like that, if you can use it, which takes time and practice to be good at that in the moment, but if you can use it in your first session, you're gonna be golden because it's gonna show them very quickly, wow, guess what? Joe listens to me, right? Joe gets me, he understands me. That's a huge piece of rapport. So I know this could be a whole hour-long talk in and of itself, but your goal here, these first 10 to 20 minutes, connect and collect. The other piece I'll put in here as well, if you are going to, and that's for another video, I'm not gonna go through what you have to do, but if you are going to collect any resting measures, right? Maybe you do things like heart rate, maybe you're doing measurements. I'm not a big fan of doing some of those things on that first little piece, but if so, connect and collect, that's where those things would fit in. Transitioning from part 1 to part 2 is gonna be where you really come into play. If you're anything like maybe one of our coaches, Coach Louise, who you've seen here in the Axiom videos, she's a relationship builder. She loves connecting and talking with people, and she might close clients on the first day without ever moving in the gym. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that's okay. It's not the most natural to me, so my process involves getting on to phase 2, but hey, if that's you, go with it. Otherwise, once you've completed the questions, because this should be a question-based framework here in phase 1, you've gotten through the questions that you have for them, or you feel a little bit of a lull in the conversation, hey, it's time for a change in environment, get them out onto the gym floor. Give them an opportunity to be coached, right? To check out what's going on with their body and then communicate what you're finding. So when it comes to coaching, I really believe that for most people, what's going to sell them on training with you is getting coached by you, right? What is that gonna be like? And what better way, rather than just talk about it, for them to experience it? So regardless of what you do, I think getting someone out moving is a key part of them understanding what it's gonna be like as they train with you long term. The thing that I like about it, I'm already treating them as if they're my client. So even the way we go through, what I say is generally about 25 to 35 minutes, is I'm gonna take them through a very light dynamic warm-up, just like I would do in a session, right? I'm training them on what our sessions are gonna be like, and I'm still getting information in the process. Whether it's a formal assessment or not, I do believe you wanna see them do enough that you could train them tomorrow. And I think that's a really great lens in which to look at, because for you, that may be formal assessment or it may not. And I'm here in this video to say, you can do either. I'm giving you permission right now. You can save more formal assessments if you don't feel like it fits inside of your process. What do you need to see them do? That could be some basic movements, some squats, lunges, push, pull. In the end, I tell people this should feel like a long warm-up, right? By the time we're done, you're not gonna feel crushed, you're gonna feel good. All this is gonna give me information about how you move, and it's just gonna give you an opportunity to work with me, which I think is great for everybody as we're interviewing one another. And the last piece of this, and I think this is gonna help you delineate exactly what you do in this 25 to 35 minutes, is what are you really good at communicating? Meaning, if you have someone go through and do something, I think you should be able to communicate why we're doing it, what I see, what this means, and how it's gonna relate to your plan inside the next part. This is gonna be huge in establishing your expertise for that person, building value for them along the way. And you can say right here, if I'm not really comfortable communicating, right? Maybe it's assessments. You think you should assess, but you're not really that great at it and you can't really communicate what you're finding. Well, that in and of it says you might not want to do that in that first session because it's not going to serve our goals. And by this point in time, we should have about 10 to 15 minutes left. I want to make sure that I leave enough time. So based on how you get through these first 2 parts, right? Connect and collect, coach, check out, and communicate. I want to make sure I've got 10 to 15 minutes left for part 3. I don't want them rushing out the door. And this is tough. This takes practice to get good at because you might have training sessions and you've got a new client tucked in And that's a really key thing to think about when you're scheduling them. If I were you, right, which at one point in time I was, so learn from me, make sure, because of part 3, make sure you're scheduling these sessions with 15-minute gaps on each end, because you just don't know. You might need to spend more time, and this is not a part you're gonna wanna rush, because this is the part where you're like, hey, do you wanna train with me? Or better yet, when are we starting? I call this craft a plan and calendar close, right? I try to use as many C's as possible in here to make it memorable for you guys. But part 3 of our first session framework, craft a plan and calendar close. I truly believe when people come in and they're looking to work with a coach, they're looking for you to help craft the plan. Oftentimes, and I say not just as a young trainer, because many of you guys are different age groups as you're getting started, but as a new coach and trainer, we're not always extremely confident. And we're coming into this last part of our session almost ready to take an order, right? As if you worked at a restaurant. That's not what coaches do, right? We help to craft a plan, but it does come from both. So the idea is that if we've done a lot of the things right early on in this session, maybe if we got some of our secret sauce with our questions ahead of time, by the time we get to the end of our session, we should have a pretty good idea of the best place for them to start. Doesn't have to be the perfect plan for them 6 months from now, where they're training 5 days a week, but like, what's the best first step? And most people are looking for that, right? They're looking for, how many days a week should I be training? You know, like, what should it be? Is it strength training? Is a mixture of? I think what you want to do is you want to be able to clearly communicate that by the end. And for a lot of people, again, this doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as, based on what I'm seeing, these are some of the things that I think we could work on. You know, maybe even some stories about things you've done with other people that are similar in the past, right? Again, building value, expertise. You've done this before with other people. Even if you're a new coach and trainer, you've got your own experience. Play into that here when you're talking about the plan. And then calendar close. And this craft the plan piece, that's why I said 10 to 15 minutes. This could be a 10-minute conversation in and of itself. You know, what that's gonna look like, what's gonna, you know, go on in those sessions. Is it gonna be mostly strength training? Here's a couple things you talked about with your shoulder. Here's how I think we could address them. All of them just giving them comfort, and they're like, hey, okay, not only do I like Joe, right? I got to experience his coaching. That was cool. That was a great experience. I had fun. Like, I feel really good. And I feel really confident that he knows what to do with me moving forward. At that phase, if you've done those things right, calendar close. This is where that last question of those 5 I showed you comes back into play. I'm not asking, like, so what do you think? You know, like, maybe we'll train together? Like, maybe we'll go on a date again, right? Be confident in what you're doing. I'm literally pulling out my calendar and I'm like, hey, cool, this was great. You know, I enjoyed training with you as well. I feel like I've got a great plan for you. And based on the schedule you said, I already have you put in for next Tuesday, right? Very confident. In your mind, guys, they're already training with you, all right? Because they're already there with you. They're looking for help. Don't be afraid to be that person. I truly believe what most people need from a coach is someone who believes in them more than they believe in themselves. And that means pushing people to take action. And it's not just about the money, which I have no problem. I love making money, and I think it's great we get to make money training, but it's about taking action. And so literally have that ready for them. And the great thing is, because that oftentimes might be the hold up, the barrier for people is like, oh, I gotta check my schedule. I've already looked at it, right? These are the times you said, how does that work for you? And you'll be surprised by people, yeah, right? They wanna take action, and this can be a really powerful way to get them there by giving them that calendar close. And we're not done yet. Part 4, secret bonus part 4 of our framework. This is the missing link for most people, follow up. Because it's not nearly as fun or as sexy, and it means staying organized and connecting with people. But keep in mind, people need follow-up, right? I truly believe what they need from a coach is someone who's gonna push them, someone's gonna help them take action, even when life doesn't make it convenient. And even if people wanna train with you, things are gonna come up. Someone's gonna get sick the day after they see you for the first session, right? Someone's gonna die in their family. Like, this is real life, guys. These are things that have happened to me. And I'm telling you the stories, people 3-6 months later of me consistently following up just off a first session who are like, Joe, thank you so much. I wanted this in my life since the moment we were together on that first session, and I just couldn't do it, but now I'm ready, right? And that's what it's all about. So hopefully this 3-part framework plus a little bonus gives you guys a little better structure, a flexible framework on how to take all that you're learning and doing and start to think about it in the context of what we need to accomplish on day 1. So if you guys use this, I promise you, not only are you gonna close more clients, you're gonna feel a lot more confident about what you're doing inside that first session.